Good morning, everybody. This is Bill Cloud, and this is On This Day. Today is the 13th day of the month Adar, and it was on this day that the 10 sons of Haman were hung upon the gallows that had been prepared for Mordechai and his fellow Jews. It's recorded for us in the book of Esther, in chapter 9, beginning in verse 1. Now in the 12th month, that is, the month of Adar, on the 13th day, the time came for the king's command and his decree to be executed. On the day that the enemies of the Jews had hoped to overpower them, the opposite occurred, in that the Jews themselves overpowered those who hated them. Thus the Jews defeated all their enemies with the stroke of the sword, with slaughter and destruction, and did what they pleased with those who hated them. And in Shushan, the citadel, the Jews killed and destroyed 500 men. Also, the 10 sons of Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the enemy of the Jews, they killed. Now, there's a lot of reading, but there's something very interesting among the list of names that's recorded there in Esther that merits our attention. In 3 of the 10 names, as it appears in Hebrew, there is one letter in each of these 3 names that is written smaller than the other letters in the names. And these 3 letters are Tav, Shin, and Zayin. Now, over the centuries, there's been a lot of speculation as to what cryptic message the scribes had in mind when they chose to use these smaller letters. An interesting observation developed several decades ago that takes into account their numerical value, because the total value of these 3 letters together is 707, which now brings us to this point. After the close of World War II, dozens of Nazis were placed on trial in Nuremberg, Germany. And of those tried, 12 prominent Nazis were sentenced to death for various war crimes. One of them was Martin Bormann, who, unbeknownst to the Allies, had already committed suicide in Berlin. The other most notable man sentenced to die was Hermann Goering, who, on the night before he was to be executed, he bit down on a cyanide capsule and committed suicide. Of course, that means that only 10 men went to the gallows. The date for their execution was October 16, 1946. But on the Hebrew calendar, that was the 21st day of the month Tishrei, also known as Hoshana Rabbah, or the Great Save Us, in the Hebrew year 5707. An appropriate way to write this Hebrew year would be Tav, Shin, Zayin. In other words, the scribes, by reducing the size of these 3 Hebrew letters among the names of the 10 sons of Haman, had hinted of a time when 10 other wicked men would be hung upon the gallows. Now, we'll never know why the scribes decided to record the letters in this fashion. Maybe they had a prophetic motive, maybe not. But we can, however, conclude with confidence that the death of Haman's sons and the death of these prominent Nazis is evidence that though the wicked may triumph for a season, in the end, God will avenge and will save his people. Those who seek to destroy God's people will themselves be destroyed, and oftentimes with the very weapons that they have purposed to use against God's people. Isaiah 54 says this, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper, and every tongue which rises against you in judgment you shall condemn. This is the heritage of the servants of the Lord, and their righteousness is from me, says the Lord." There are times in our lives when it seems that the opposite is our reality. It seems at times that the wicked do prosper. Yet we must hold fast to the promise that even though the adversary may for a season get his way, no weapon he has formed against us will prosper for his purposes. In the end, the weapons he fashions for our demise will end up serving the Creator's purposes. In fact, God will use the attack of the enemy against us to fashion his weapons, that is, his people, to bring about his purposes. He will use the attack to train us to be his warriors. And you and I, as his warriors, are here to bring the fight to the enemy. In the end, the enemy's gallows, or whatever other weapon of destruction he has intended for God's people, is going to be used to expose their wicked schemes and ultimately destroy them. And so then, knowing all of that, we should remember that time and again, through Moses, God has told his people to be strong and of good courage. And I would leave that with you today, that we need to be strong and of good courage. God will save and deliver his people. Thanks for joining me today. We will see you again tomorrow. Until then, shalom.
Like what you're hearing? Become a Bill Cloud Premium Partner to watch or listen to hundreds of hours of teachings and resources on demand. Go to BillCloud.com/subscribe to start watching today.